It is Wednesday, my dudes, and you know what that means. It is time once again to visit Velocity Lake, the theme park I am building in Planet Coaster. And today we're actually going to build a roller coaster. And it's going to be a pretty extreme one. And, well, to preface things, it's the Swinging Duck roller coaster, which would normally be a family coaster in this game. But, you know, since Frontier added the ability to change the cars, it's not going to be a swinging duck roller coaster. I actually got this idea from Variable Gaming again. He seems to be a name that comes up a lot on this series. But he discovered that the coaster type this is, not just swinging duck, is called the Pioneer coaster. And the Pioneer coaster seems to be like smooth out really, really well compared to a lot of the others. So it's quite a good candidate for a fully custom coaster, which this is. Every single inversion is not prefabricated. It's all made by me by hand, and you can see I'm building it in very, very, very tiny increments. The smallest increments you can have in this game, which is 4 meters, with a 1 meter banking offset. So the first notch for you Americans that use it have your units in feet. I'm not sure what the feet is. I'm guessing 2 feet. I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway, not important. It's just the first notch on banking offset. What I'm doing here, for those that don't know, is the 4 meter smoothing exploit. Planet Coaster is a great theme park building game. It's not a great roller coaster building game. It's certainly a massive improvement over Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 and all that, but it's still not great. The roller coasters you can build in this game, as provided you build them properly, they're not very smooth and they're not very realistically smooth. Like, they're very jerky. The transitions between elements is not very good. There is a way around it, but it's very laborious and very arduous, and it does feel a bit cheaty. And that's what I'm doing here, the 4 meter smoothing technique. The way it works is you build the entire coaster out of the 4 meter pieces, like you can see me doing here, which will result in a very, very rough ride. You can see the track in the background of the bits I've already built. It's very, very jagged, uncomfortable, unrealistic. But once you've built your layout, you then select 4 pieces, press smooth once, and then drag that selection 1 notch along. So you kind of go to the next, not like the next 4, just the next, you add 1, take 1 off, you just move the chain along that way. You'll see me doing the smoothing throughout this video if that was not a very good explanation, and you'll kind of get it. You basically do that 8 times around the entire track layout, and you end up with a very, very, very smooth coaster. Some bits will probably need smoothing a little bit more than 8 times, some bits a little bit less, but 8 is generally enough. So that's the 4 meter smoothing technique. That is what I'm doing in this ride here. Now, the actual ride itself, while not a clone, is very, very similar in layout to the Lech coaster, which I believe is in Poland. Yeah, I just checked. It's at a theme park in Chorzów, spelt Korzał, in case you want to Google that, but obviously in Polish, letters have different pronunciation, so it's Chorzów. I think that's how Polish letters are pronounced. I probably could have just Googled how to pronounce it, but I'm a busy person, you know. I have a very basic understanding of how Polish letters are pronounced because I used to live with a couple of Polish people when I was in my early 20s. Now I'm in my mid 20s, and it's very depressing. And I am an I person in real life, outside of YouTube, and children who are very young, or who otherwise just don't know their letters yet, we have a vision chart that consists of pictures. So they got a duck, a house, a boot, etc. And we have a lot of, in the UK, there's quite a relatively high Polish population. And there's a lot of Polish families in Plymouth. And a lot of them, the children are fluent in Polish before they're fluent in English. So I kind of know the Polish for all of the pictures on that letter chart. And so that is my story about the Polish language that I know. And I've been to Poland. I've been to Krakow before. Krakow. Very, very good. The salt mines there are very good. Auschwitz is also there, and I wouldn't describe it as a fun place to visit, but it's definitely somewhere I think everyone should probably see at least once. It's a very harrowing experience. Anyway, God, this took a very dark turn. My happy, fun roller coaster video, I'm talking about Auschwitz. Let's move away from this topic. How do you even get... Oh, yeah, this roller coaster is in Poland. Same country as a Nazi concentration camp. What a great leap that was. Anyway, this is based on the Lech coaster, but it's not really that similar to the Lech Coaster's layout. It's just sort of kind of inspired by it. The Lech Coaster, it's made by Vekoma, and it's a Bermuda Blitz model. And that's all I pretty much know about. That was the extent of my Googling before I started this commentary. But yeah, this is the Pioneer coaster. The only thing I don't like about it, it did come out really smooth, this track layout. In this episode, we are basically just going to be constructing the layout of the coaster, and in future episodes, we'll be doing all the supports and surrounding scenery and all the station. Again, this is actually one of the most heavily themed rides in this park, so look forward to that. But yeah, the only thing I don't like about this coaster type itself, aside from the fact I really like the unique look of the track. It definitely looks distinct from the standard B&M-ish tracks, and it comes out very smooth. I don't like the lift hill. You got that big catwalk there. Normally in this game you can toggle the catwalk for lift hills and stuff, but with the Pioneer coaster for some reason you can't. I don't know if it's a bug or a deliberate design choice from the devs. I'm not sure why it is. I don't know why it be this way, but it be that way. So we do have that big catwalk on the lift hill that we can't get rid of. So that is a bit of an eyesore. But I think I work it kind of well into the scenery. I went with a very industrial factory setting. So it kind of having a giant gantry like that's very oversized kind of fits with the theming of this ride. So I think it worked out in the end. But I think if there was one thing I could change about this ride that is beyond my control, it would probably be that. And we're coming up to the final corner here to complete the first draft of the layout. I say first draft, this is pretty much it done. We need to do some smoothing, obviously, but that's pretty much the layout done. The only thing I'm going to change is the actual final transition between the track to the brake run and the station itself. It's a bit sort of janky. I think I was just getting bored of relentless smoothing and constructing out of the 4-meter pieces, and I was just like, I just want to get it done. I'm just going to finish it. And we'll sort it out down the line. So now we come to the smoothing. I've cut out a lot of the smoothing. I probably should have mentioned this earlier, just to avoid anyone's confusion in case they became confused. But if you saw the track look really jerky and then suddenly in a split second it became smooth, it's because I just went back and smoothed it and cut that out. But I'm going to show you one run of the smoothing here, played at 12 times speed, so it's not too long. This is the 4-meter smoothing technique at play. I went back and forth a few times. I had a Netflix show on my second monitor, so it wasn't too arduous, but I think I was definitely getting a bit of an RSI carpal tunnel coming on by the end of it. But that's a run of smoothing here, and you can see me going back again. But we'll do a smooth transition, to me finishing it, and that's it there. Oh, I guess I'm still smoothing. There was a lot of smoothing, guys. It was very hard for me to cut it all out consistently. I guess, I had to sit here smoothing it. You're going to sit here and watch me smooth it as well. And you can listen to my beautiful anecdotes about smoothing. That I don't have any. But if I did, they'd be beautiful. And it's very hard to come up with commentary about the same thing over and over again, which I know is a common theme with this series that I never know what to talk about during bits of the video. But, I could talk about things that happened in my life. I've just got back from Birmingham, actually. Met up with the pals from Off the Hook. I think I might mention that last episode, actually. I met up with the pals from Off the Hook. We had a nice night out. I think I drank way too much on Friday night. We had a big night out Friday night, and then Saturday we went to a whiskey tasting. So we had three 25 milliliter glasses, and you had a little sip from each one, a tasting of each one. So I went for the American Odyssey, which had like a Jim Beam, a Jack Daniels, the good ones, obviously, not just old number 7 and the standard Jim Beam. I think it was the single barrel select rye blend with the Jack Daniels, which I think is about 50 quid a bottle in the UK. Very good. If you had to ask me what my favorite whiskey is, it's Jack Daniels single barrel select. Not the rye kind though. I don't know. Rye whiskey is always more expensive than the normal whiskies, but I never like them as much. I always prefer the standard version, or I guess the version that's not made with rye. there's quite a few different kinds. I'm a bourbon guy. I do like my American whiskies, which I think is pretty blasphemous to a lot of people who live in the UK, but sue me, all right? I like American whiskies and I like Irish whiskies. I'm not a huge fan of Scotch. I like Scotch, but I always prefer bourbon over a Scotch. This is a great... I'm probably going to get demonetized. I've been talking about alcohol for too long now, but I'm going to press on because I've already talked about Auschwitz, so I've already screwed myself over for the monetization of this video, so we'll just carry on. I think my friend had it was three of the same kind of whiskey, but one was aged 12 years, one was aged 24 years, one was aged 32 years. And it was interesting to see that there actually was quite a significant difference in the tastes. I just went, like I said, with the American Odyssey. So it's pretty interesting. I was surprised by the cost of some of them. So everything pretty much was served as a 25 milliliter serving, which is just a shot, basically. But it's in a whiskey glass, so it feels a bit more substantial than a shot, and you don't just shot it. You drink it with a little bit of water. You always want to dilute it down to about 37%. And one of them was about 75 quid for one 25ml shot. So I was wondering, bloody hell, how much is the bottle? So that was pretty fun. And that was our trip to Birmingham. We didn't do anything touristy. We went to the Bull Ring, and I was surprised by how small it was. I was led to believe the Bull Ring was a very big shopping centre in the UK, but it's very small. I did go to uni in Sheffield, and we had the Meadowhall shopping centre, which was huge, so maybe I've just been spoiled. Who knows? Oh, by the way, I finished the smoothing of the track, and I've painted it yellow. A golden colour, I should say. Here's a little quick POV, just to give you a good sense of the smoothing, really, really rapid fire. We will do a real-time POV towards the end when there's actually sound for the video. At the moment, you can still hear a podcast playing in the background on this portion of the footage, so I'll show you the POV at the end of this video, don't worry. I don't know, you can probably see there that final corner, a little bit shallow as well. The lateral G-forces are way too high there. But in general, it doesn't really fit the layout of the rest of the coaster. So I will end up reworking it. I'm not even sure I actually finish the final version of that corner in this video. I think I get close. It's pretty similar to the layout it currently has and is finished with, but I don't think it's quite there yet. And that's it there. So this is kind of a short episode, actually. It's only about 15, 14, 13 minutes. It's not a very long episode. And that's because I mentioned in a couple of episodes now that I have this bad habit in Planet Coaster of not working on one project. I just change projects really, really haphazardly. So I'll be working on something and then just change to something else, which in and of itself is a fine habit to have for Planet Coaster. Not so great for content creation where viewers will want to just watch a video of a thing, and that's an all-encompassing video. So we just have a video where we build a roller coaster and that's it. Unfortunately, in this video, after I finish everything you see on screen, I then went off and worked on the road network for about 12 hours. So unfortunately, this is kind of going to be broken up a bit. This is going to be you'll see this episode here, but then there'll be a couple of episodes of back to working on the road, and then we'll return to this coaster to do all the theming and supports and all that. I think it's only going to be one or at most two episodes in between this and, the rest of the episodes for this roller coaster. There's only a couple where I'm actually working on the road layout. But there it is. That's, speaking of everything we need to do in this episode, that's the coaster layout there. There's a couple of changes I'll need to change. The helix towards the end of the ride, the banking is nowhere near aggressive enough, so the lateral G-forces are way too high. So that will be changed. And then, like I say, the final corner will need changing. But other than that, it's pretty much a done. Don't worry, we'll shut up once we get to the top of the lift hill. At the end of the video, I'll put an end screen on. And actually, no, I can just talk about the end screen when it appears. I will stop talking now, and I'll be back momentarily. That's the corner there with the too high lateral G-force, by the way. Just to intrude on the POV. But we're pretty much there. This is the terrible corner that will go, do not worry. But yeah, that's the layout of this coaster here. Like I say, unfortunately, it's going to be a brief intermission now. We work on the road layout before we come back to this. But I hope, it's a good enough cliffhanger that you're now excited for future work on this coaster. On screen, there are links. On the left-hand side is a link to the full playlist, and on the right-hand side was one chosen for you by YouTube's recommendation algorithm. There's a link to subscribe and check out Patreon if you'd like to, and there are things in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.